It's been a few weeks since I've posted anything on my channel, but life be life. And the same thing applies to therapists. We have real lives out here in these streets. But anyway, I wanted to hop on here and talk about a topic that I've been addressing with some of my clients this week, and it's the topic of non-negotiables in relationships. And so this is not necessarily a psychological term, but it is, in reference to things related to boundaries. And that is something that we talk a lot about in therapy. So what are non-negotiables? So these are beliefs, situations, values that you are unwilling and unable to compromise on. So, for example, if you're in a relationship and you value cleanliness and you have a partner that may not wash the dishes, just the way you like them, or may not clean up exactly like how you would like them to clean up. The compromise would be, well, I'll let them clean up the way that they do clean up, because at least things are getting cleaned. So that would be a compromise on that value of cleanliness. However, if you have a non-negotiable where you are just not willing or able to compromise on infidelity, then you might have an expectation of your partner to not have any opposite sex friends. So, that's something that you will not bend on, you will not negotiate with. We can't come to the table on that. Like I'm firm on that. You cannot have any opposite sex friends because I do value fidelity. Now, the problem is that, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about having an anxious attachment style. So if you're anxious in your relationships, you're not going to really stand by and stand 10 toes down on your non-negotiables. You're going to bend, you're going to flex, you're going to sacrifice a lot of yourself because you want to keep the relationship intact. And what happens when we do that is we have a lot of resentment that builds up towards our partner and sometimes towards ourselves because we're not standing on those things that we value the most. So know your non-negotiables, stand by your non-negotiables. And if you're in a relationship where you're being disrespected, because that's essentially what's happening, if your non-negotiables are not being adhered to, then you need to develop an exit strategy and leave that relationship to preserve yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you choose to do. So know who you are, know what you can and cannot tolerate, and just be at peace. Bye.